Hello guys, welcome to the video. In this video, we are going to discuss our question maximum consecutive ones, second part. So in the input, we are given an array that only contains 0 and 1 and a number k. So what the number k represent is the number of times you can flip your 0th coin, right? And what we are ultimately required to calculate is the maximum number of consecutive ones, right? So let's understand the question better. Okay, so what we are given is an array, right? So let's say this is our array 1 0 0 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 1 0 1, right? And one more 0. All right, so this is the array that is given to us and we are given a k, right? Let's say our k is equal to 2, right? Now what we are required to find is the maximum consecutive ones. So let's discuss what will be its maximum consecutive one. Let's not discuss about the special power that we got, that we can flip the 0, but if we simply ask what is the consecutive ones, it's simple, it's 2, right? Now what if we flip, right? If we flip this 0, right? If we flip this 0 to 1, right, this will get to 1 and this flip 2. So now here what is the length, what is the consecutive ones we are getting? It's 1 2 3 4, right? Likewise, let's see one more example, that like if we flip this 0 to 1 and this to 1 as well. Now what are we getting is 1 2 3 4 and 5 consecutive 0, 5 consecutive ones, sorry, 5 consecutive ones. So what we are ultimately required to calculate is the maximum number of consecutive ones. Okay, I hope that you have understood the question. Right, now let's talk about how we are gonna approach our problem. Okay, let me define the indexes. Perfect. Now what our I denotes here, I'm creating a variable I, right? So what I is gonna do is traverse and calculate the number of 0, right? And whenever I is greater than k, that means that we are allowed to store, we are allowed to flip k number of coins. Here in our case, we are allowed to flip 2 coins, right? We are allowed to flip 2 zeros. But if our zeros get greater than 2, that means we can't flip it, we can't include it. So we are gonna do a similar thing. Let's see how we are gonna do it. Okay, so I will be needing a variable and j. So j here is set to -1. We are gonna understand why we are doing it. Okay, this will help us in calculating our length. Now we are required to calculate our length. So let me write length here, right? Eventually we will calculate our maximum length. So here are I. How will we calculate our length? Let's see. We can calculate our length by using a simple formula. It's not even a formula, it's simple. Our I is currently standing at 0, our j is -1, right? So what will be I minus j? What will be their difference? I minus j, it is going to be 0 minus -1. And we know it is going to give us 1, minus minus plus. So here the length will be 1. Perfect. Now we increase our I, right? I get to a first index and it's 0 value present, right? And we know that we are allowed to flip k number of zeros, right? Here in our case, 2 number of 0. So we got to count it. What we got to count is number of zeros, because we know we can only flip k number of zeros, right? So initially 0 count is 0. Now we reach at here 0 count is going to become 1, because here it is 1 0, right? And what will be our length? Our length will be 1 minus -1, that is 2. Perfect. Now again we increase our I, it gets to a second index. It's a numerical value. We can simply include it, right? Our length will be 2 minus -1, that is 3. Right? Again, we get to third index and we get a 0. If we get a 0, we simply do nothing, increase our 0 count. right? It gets to 2. And it is allowed. We know that two number of zeros are allowed as k is equal to 2. We calculate our length, it will be 3 minus minus 1, that is 4, right? So this is our maximum length. Till now we are required to calculate maximum length, right? Now, important case, our I get to the 4th index and its 0 value present, so 0 count will get to 3. Now we see that the 0 count is greater than k, right? So 0 count is greater than k now. Now what we are gonna do? That means we can't include this, right? So if we want to include this, what we got to do is exclude a previous 0, right? Because you might find the answer greater than the current maximum length you got, right? By including a different 0. So what we are gonna do? We are gonna increase our j till what? Let's see. So if 0 count is greater than k, we have to exclude it. So we will use our j that will help us in excluding. So we are gonna increase j until it gets to a 0. So here it is not 0, here it is 0, right? And now what j is helping us with, let's see. So j is acting as a boundary for us because we are not including j here. What will be our length? Will be I minus j, that is 3. Alright, so whenever j value becomes, j get to 0, we have to decrease our 0 count. It got 2. And this time we can calculate our 0 length because we are not including the previous 0 this time. We are matching the condition that 0 count is equal to k. It is less than or equal to k. So I minus j, we get our length 3. Perfect. Now we simply increase our I, right? It gets to 4 because consecutive 1. Again we increase our I, it is 1, so we can simply find our length, that is 6 minus 1, that is 5 length. Perfect. Now our I get to a 0. So if it gets to a 0, 0 count is going to become 3. Perfect. Now 0 count is 3. So what you gotta do? You gotta increase your j till when? Till you find a 0. Because you got to exclude a 0 to include a 0. So your j is here and you increase it, it is still not 0. You increase it, it is a 0 now. So this is acting as a boundary. You are not including this, right? Now you can calculate the length. Before that, don't forget to decrease your 0 count. That is 2 now. So now you calculate the length. It is going to be 7 minus 3. That is 4. 4 length. Perfect. Now you increase it. It get to the 8 index, 5 is present, your length will be 8 minus 3, that is 5, right? And let's say here 1 is present, right? Now your I gets to here, you calculate your length will be 9 minus j, 9 minus 3, that is 6, right? So what will be our maximum length? It is going to be this 6. So that's how we will code it, right? It is simple as the explanation. Okay, so let's write the necessary variables. What variables are required? J is required, of course. What else? 0 count. To count number of zeros will be there, right? J is required to calculate our length. What else? Max length. What maximum length? To calculate your maximum length, right? Also, let me increase the size to full screen, and max length will be equal to 0 initially. What we are going to do? We are going to traverse for int I is equal to 0, I is less than array dot size, I plus plus. Now, what's the first case? If array of I is equal to 0, if that's the case, what we do is do nothing and simply increase our 0 count, right? Now we check if 0 count is greater than k, because it is not supposed to be greater than k, right? If 0, as we can only flip k number of zeros, right? So if it is greater than k, then we got to exclude it. So let's see how we will do it. We'll keep increasing our j until when? Until it finds a 0. If array j is equal to 0, that means we have find a 0 and we are gonna decrease our 0 count. Perfect. And then we get out of the loop, we calculate our length. our length will be equal to I minus j, right? And then we check if max length is greater, which is greater, max length or my current length, right? And eventually I get out of my main loop and return max length. Perfect. Now let's try running our code. It's giving an error. Let's find the error. Max, okay, 20th line. Here it is max length and max L, our variable name. Accepted now. Small typing error, nothing. Perfect, 10 out of 10, accepted. Now, I want to dry run this, so let's run it so that you get a better understanding of it. Okay. So let's try running it for this input. Okay. Let me decrease its size and let me paste it. Perfect. So let's say here k is equal to 2. Okay. So what we do? We create a j that is initially minus 1. J is minus 1. Okay. We also declare a variable that is 0 count. Let me write it here, 0 count. That is initially 0 and max length. Max length. Okay. That is also 0. Now we traverse. So here our I is not equal to 0. So we calculate our length. What will be our length? Our length will be I minus j. As you can see, our length will be I minus j. Also we check that our 0 count is greater than k. No, it is not. So we calculate our length. Our length will be 1. We are gonna update our max length to 1. Okay. So then we increase our I. R gets here, right? And we check if it's a 0, we increase our 0 count to 1, right? And then it's valid. So at it's less than k. We calculated our length. It will be 1 minus minus 1, that is 2. We increase our max length to 2. Now again, we increase our I and we check. If it's a 0, we increase our 0 count to 2. It became 2. Now we check if 0 count is greater than k. No, it is not greater. 2 is not greater than k. So we calculate our length. That will be 2 minus minus 1. That is 3. So we update our max length to 3. Perfect. Now we again increase our I. This time we get a 1. So it is not a 0 and 0 count is not also greater than k. We calculate our length. It is 4. 3 minus minus 1. So we increase our max length to 4. Perfect. Now we increase our I and we get to a 0. So what happens? Our 0 count becomes 3. Right? Our 0 count becomes 3 and then we check 0 count is greater than k. Right? So what we are going to do? We are going to keep increasing our j until we hit a 0. So here it is not 0. Here it is a 0. And then we decrease our 0 count. So our 0 count is going to become 2. Perfect. Now we calculate our length. It is going to be 4 minus 1. That is 3. So it is not greater than max length. So no need to update it. Perfect. Now we are going to increase our I. We get to a 0. So we increase our 0 count. It is going to be 3. And we check that 3 is greater than k. So we are going to keep increasing our j until we find a 0. And here we find a 0. We decrease our 0 count. It is going to become 2. Perfect. It is going to become 2. And then we calculate our max length. It is going to be 5 minus 2. That is 3. Right. So all the loop task is done. And then we eventually return our max length. That is 4. Perfect. So that's how our code is working. It was a interesting and easy question. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, do not forget to like, comment and share. Thanks for watching.